Next up, taking a peek at the steering wheel for the vehicle. So this is going to be a full walk around on the steering wheel buttons as well as that cluster screen. Let's go for it. So first thing I'm going to point out, the steering wheel itself actually is a manual telescoping. So just by our left knee, we've got a little lever there. We're just going to crank that down, go in, out, up and down as necessary. Click it, lock it back into place. Stick on the left-hand side is going to be for our windshield wipers. So we just adjust as necessary, and we're just going to push the button at the very tip of the stick in order to get the windshield wiper fluid going. Now, this specific one also is the configuration that's got the console, which means that we don't have the shifter along the side here. But if we didn't have the console, shifter would be here instead. So something to think about there. But let's look. So pad on the left-hand side is going to be for our base cruise control setting. So we can easily toggle the system on there as necessary, increase or decrease 1 kilometer or mile per hour at a time. And then we also do have our lane keeping system. So we can see that lane keeping system on or off, and we can see that there's a truck right in the middle of that. Now what that's going to do is it's going to highlight green once we hit a certain speed. And one of the great things there is that if we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, we're going to get a gentle nudge to push us back into our lane, or it'll shake the steering wheel, it'll do a combination of both, or we can turn the system off completely if we really don't like it. And when we do that, you see there, we do have our speed in the middle that's also going to be digital, so that's kind of a nice thing. We do also have 2 buttons along the side, so we can adjust our volume as necessary. And then we also do have a button along the bottom there, and that's going to be our voice command prompt. So we can do things like change songs, radio stations, things like that by using our voice, and it's very simple to be able to do it. Along the right-hand side, we can change between songs or radio stations. We can answer or hang up on a phone call. But on top of that, if we were on our audio tab back there again, we can also press and hold in order to be able to seek. So as you can see there, so it's kind of seeking, going crazy as necessary. It's definitely a nice thing, or we can just do a simple press in order to be able to change between different presets, which is amazing. Now, we do also have a few buttons along the side, and that's going to let us adjust what's going on with this center screen. So what we're going to do, let's zoom in a tiny little bit there, and there we go. So what we're going to do is play with these buttons as we go. So this is our basic back button. This is going to be our up and down, and then we've got our basic OK button, and this is going to be our sub-menu screen button. So we're going to kind of go through each one. So we've got our basic My View, which we have to press OK in order to be able to add screens in. So we can add in a calming screen. We've got our trip 1 and 2 counters, tire pressure. Let's go off-road and power distribution, which are always good ones, and now playing. All right, we're going to go back and watch this. So all of a sudden we have even more options there. So we've got our calming screen, fuel economy, trip counters, off-road, so we can see our pitch and roll, which is definitely useful if you're off-roading. We can see our power distribution, so which wheel is getting what amount of power. And we've got what's currently playing. And then this is interesting. So if we go to our fuel economy or our trip counter, we press and hold the OK button on the steering wheel. So we press 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're reset there. So it literally is that simple to be able to adjust this thing. And then we can easily move up and down between different pages. We press the menu button there to jump to this menu instead. And we go down, we've got our trip fuel info, which looks familiar, I should say. So we've got our different trip counters, eco coach, etc. Moving down, we've got some base truck info. So we've got our tire pressure. So we can see a little bit off there. We've got our pitch and roll screen again, our power distribution, our engine information. So if you're changing oil yourself, you can just do a press and hold OK in order to reset that. Back down, we've got our seat belts, and then back up. So it's kind of neat because we can go through this way in order to get to each individual screen, or we can click through to our digital display there instead, and we can just kind of cycle through that way. So we've got a few different options. And moving back, we've got some towing info. So we've got our trailer information, and as of right now, no trailer selected because we don't have any trailer put in there right now. But we've got our different gain there. We can see exactly what's going on. Moving back again into our navigation. So navigation, we've got my home address, previous destinations, favorites, point of interest icons. So if let's say we want to find a gas station, we just press gas station, or we could just press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if we wanted to go that route instead. So we could press this little button there if we wanted to do that way. But we can also just easily select, so we just press one of these.
Obey traffic laws, be alert and use voice commands while driving.
Okay.
Please proceed to the highlighted road.
And look at the bottom left of the screen there. So our navigation's showing up, which is amazing. And then even on the Sync 4 screen, we've got that navigation route also showing up. So it is amazing that it was so simple to be able to do it. And then we jump back into navigation and we've got a route going. So we can just go cancel. We go back inside and then we can look at previous destinations, favorites, point of interest icons, and things like that. We've got our phone, which there's no phone connected, but if there was, we would have options for making phone calls, looking through our contact lists and things like that. Back into our audio screen, so whatever audio sources are available, that's what's going to show up in the middle part of the screen here. So we can change between AM, FM, Sirius XM, whatever the case may be. If we had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up. If we were hooked up over Bluetooth audio, our phone would also show up as an available audio source. So there is a ton of different options that are available. Well, yes, there are a ton of different options that are available, just depending on what you need. Moving back again into some other settings. So we've got the option to configure the gauges, and that's going to be the gauges along the very top, so in the middle. So we can swap our gauge position there. Watch that. So see, we've got our oil temp, and there we go. So we've got our oil temp gauge there, and we can also change out the oil pressure, so our left versus that right gauge. So the top two are always going to be fixed in place. The middle two, we've got the flexibility to adjust. So we've got our oil pressure. We can change it to a turbo boost instead if we want to. We can have nothing there. So we've got a few options, and it's the same idea with the right side. So we can switch between those basic options there instead, or we can just go nothing to get rid of that gauge if we wanted to. So a few options available. Moving back, we've got our speedometer. So we've got the kilometers or miles per hour. So whether you're in Canada, the States, cross-border, whatever the case may be. If we're border crossing, that's a neat one, because as we come close to a border, it's going to give us a little reminder. And then we can change out to miles, kilometers per hour there if we need to. Neutral tow, obviously we haven't met those conditions, but if you're towing the F-150 behind a camper van, whatever the case may be, we're going to go neutral tow after we've done a few things. So check down below if you want to know how that neutral tow mode works. And then we've got some base settings for our vehicle maintenance. So we've got our oil life, tire pressure as well. So if we go oil life, we can do a reset there. Move back into our tire pressure to see exactly what's going on. So if you saw, there's a little bit of a recurring theme where we can go between different subscreens and things like that. So we can literally see all, we can go between different options up and down very simply as necessary. But we go up and down, that's literally the basics here. Like, it is very straightforward, very, very nice. We've got a few different options, like as we go through our 4 high mode. So you can see we've got a 4x4 shift in progress there. It's the same idea. We go to our 4 low. We do have to shift into neutral to do it. So we just pop our shifter up, and then we just have to throw ourselves into neutral. And that shift is in progress, as you see there. So very straightforward. Turns off our advanced track, and we can shift out there, put ourselves back into 4 high again, and done there. We can park back again, and you can see right along the very bottom part of the tray, we also do have what gear we're in as we go, as well as whether we're in park, reverse, neutral, drive, or if we've dropped out and thrown ourselves into the manual mode. So in the manual mode, you can see we've also got a highlight there now, so we can easily adjust gears as necessary there. Turn manual mode off, and we've got that 10-speed automatic transmission, so we can see exactly what gear we're in as we go. Back to our park again. And then we also do have a series of different drive modes. So drive mode selector, all we're going to do is adjust there. Oh, if you ever get a message on screen, just press the OK button there, and that gets rid of it very simply. But we can go between different modes. So we've got our normal, slippery, deep snow and sand, and our mud ruts. And back the other way, we've got our tow haul, our eco, as well as the sport mode. So each mode, as I mentioned, will do something different. Like when we get into that sport mode, it's going to give us an infinitely sportier performance. So it's going to hold on to the RPMs a little bit longer. In comparison, we look at something like, we'll go the opposite way into our deep snow and sand, or even the slippery mode. It's going to play with our traction control and stability control. And you see there, it also switched us out to 4 high. So we want to be in different modes just depending on what we're doing. Like when we get into the far side there and we're in our mud ruts, we should be in our 4 low. We get into rock crawls and things like that. So you've got a ton of different options that are available just based off of what you need. So that was kind of neat, right? I do love all of the different options. The display when we get into the drive modes, I think, is absolutely beautiful. But if you have any questions, you run into any problems, drop down in the comments section below and let me know. More than willing to talk you through any issues that you might be having. But if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up and share it with your social networks. And until I see you next time, take care.